Good day, everyone. Hello. My name is Adebowale Asaya, and I'm excited to be here today, sharing a few words on this really important topic. I'll be covering all things product visioning. So that includes the importance, the approach we should have when it comes to developing one, and the critical elements of a product vision statement. All the things that I believe play right into the longevity and the sustainability of the product itself. So before we jump into it and before we get into my background, I wanted to start with a few primer thoughts on what drew me to this topic. As I was transitioning into product and was sort of doing the run of the mill trainings and looking for content out there on the components of product management. So think frameworks, right? Road mapping, feature prioritization, writing PRDs, agile methodologies, so on and so forth. Out of all of these concepts, there was and likely still is surprisingly very little on not only developing a clear product vision, but also how to leverage your product vision as a fundamental principle that'll guide the rest of the product development cycle. This was personally critical for me as my first product role wasn't in a 0 to 1 environment, right? I was coming into an existing product that had already been greenlit and was well into its development. And we were nearing beta testing when I came into the team. So this sort of left a gap in my understanding of just core aspects, really, which are necessary for me to come in and add value, right? What problems are we solving? Why is it a problem in the first place? What drove us to this as a solution relative to these problems? So I spent a considerable amount of time in search of that conviction, right? That I believe is really needed for a PM to come in and add value. So in the next 20 or so minutes, I'll give an overview of what a product vision is or should be, why it's necessary, and how it can help to really sustain the rest of the product development cycle. I'll also talk about the elements of a product vision. We'll look at a few examples, and then I'll synthesize it with a few takeaways. So a little bit about me. I'm currently a senior product lead at Amazon. I work primarily on procurement products that seek to enhance the buying or purchasing experience for internal employees. I have a business background, which specifically is focused in the procurement space. So I practiced in automotive, biotechnology, and now tech. And throughout those procurement roles, I worked with SME, subject matter experts who, in some cases were engineers, designers, and then suppliers to deliver value through long-term strategic contracts and relationships. This often looked like really understanding stakeholder pain points, and sort of using that to translate them into formal requirements to drive the supplier selection process. I then discovered that more often than not, the actual value isn't with the supplier partner that I was tasked with selecting. It was the solution that the supplier partner was bringing forward. So after years of doing this, I sort of realized I wanted to get closer to the solution itself, closer to the technologies that are driving those solutions oftentimes. And that's sort of what drove my move to transition into product. And then finally, I'm an active angel investor and limited partner in a couple of Africa-focused VC funds and angel syndicates. So more on that later. So let's jump right into it. What is a product vision? Many of us, I'm sure at this point, have heard of the North Star reference when thinking about product vision. In my opinion, that is an apt descriptor of understanding the purpose of a product vision. Your vision is essentially your long-term goal and purpose that guides the product and development teams and stakeholders along the way. So when you step back and think about this, that's extremely important, right? It serves as the foundation that informs all of the subsequent efforts associated with building that product. You know, as a PM, you're really in a unique position that pairs you with, folks with various talents. Think developers, your data scientists, in some cases, your sales reps, marketing, and others. Uh, I view product work as an art of sorts. You need to be able to leverage all of this varied expertise towards a common goal, a shared vision. So the analogy I want to draw here is imagine a symphony orchestra, right? You're preparing to perform a new piece, a new composition. The PM in this case is the conductor, not the CEO, but the conductor of that orchestra, who's really responsible for bringing together all of these diverse skill sets to realize a shared artistic vision. I like to look at the product vision as the overarching theme and mood of that emotional journey, right? It drives every note that's played, every bridge, every part of that composition. And when a new orchestra member joins, right, that product vision should be clearly available and communicated to that new individual so that their expertise can, properly be contributed into this larger macro vision. Each musician has an important part to play, but harmony is the end goal, or harmony rather is the conduit to achieve that united vision. So yeah, that's what makes the vision critical. It's a foundational tool for inspiration and influence. So I'll provide a quick example, a real life example from a startup that I served as an advisor for. The founders were seeking to connect communities, specifically folks of the African diaspora who had immigrated out to the U.S. They really saw an opportunity to build community through social events in order to bring like-minded individuals with similar backgrounds together. The problem statements at the time were, lack of community engagement and social isolation, fragmented information about local happenings, and just general lack of participation, and even leading to lack of civic involvement, just to name a few. So those were the problem statements that these two super talented founders were ideating on how do they solve for. So after several focus groups and interviews that I was part of, a significant part of, the founders centered around building a mobile application to bring folks of this community together and address all of these pain points. Their first iteration of their vision statement was to create a world where the diaspora feels connected and engaged locally. Now, in hindsight, this probably could have been a stronger vision statement, but they were able to use this statement as sort of a guiding principle to ensure when they got into feature development and strategic decisions that they always were aligned against this higher purpose, this higher vision statement. In fact, we all had, sort of built or not built, but designed an image and used it as our laptop screensaver, for example, just to sort of keep grounded on a daily basis as we got into determining what features should be part of the MVP for the mobile app, prioritizing features and determining, what would become technical debt, those sort of things. Having that vision statement, uh, just visual and as a part of, our everyday development was super helpful. I'll give another example. The team was once debating whether to add a new feature, right? And this was a feature that would monetize the product, right? Essentially, um, one of our stakeholders had recommend, hey, how about you sell tickets and collect payments for events that you're already showcasing on the app? Just build an ingest point to sell tickets and sort of use as RSVP, so on and so forth, and then charge a fee to again monetize the product. Now, on the surface, this really seemed like a logical addition. I mean, we went through several. We started actually to build out this ticketing feature. Um, it would generate revenue and it would just provide an additional use case for the application. However, we stepped back after probably a few months of ideating on this feature, and we resurfaced our vision statement, right? Creating a world where this specific population felt connected enough and engaged to build community, right? And we quickly sort of realized that this might create a barrier for participation and undermine the sort of inclusive grassroots spirit that we were going for, that our vision statement really called for. So that's an example that I wanted to offer of how really having that clear vision statement, we used it in this instance as a guiding principle to eventually deprioritize and just to avert adding that feature. So the North Star, it keeps you on course even as you're ideating on the specific path. Okay, so let's talk tactics. When you think about how products are built and some of the general methodologies that we are following or should be following, think about your vision as the anchor to these other components of development, right? You got your product vision, your product strategy, then your goals. You'll do some discovery work, and then finally your execution or your delivery. They're all interconnected pieces of the product management puzzle, as I call it. Your vision is your why. Your strategy tends to be your what, a little bit of your how, but it's really your what. And then your tactics are really where you get into the details of the how. It's a holistic framework for bringing these, in some cases, complex products to life. So the image I'm showing here is by Tim Herbig, and I refer to this pretty often. It does a good job at helping us to visualize how the vision can help steer and inform some of the downstream activities. Again, your vision is your why behind everything you do. So you think back to our community or diaspora app. Um, we knew our why. We were pretty clear on that. But as we started to map out what our strategy would be to execute, we knew we wanted to make it easy for people to discover and participate in local happenings, while also empowering another important customer segment of ours, our organizers, right? Or folks that organized events. Their goal is to build a community through events. And that really was the strategy, right? It outlined the core user and their needs, the competitive landscape, and a little bit of the business model that helped to fulfill that vision. So we had our vision, we had our strategy, and then it became easier to execute on things like what are our uh, goals relative to that strategy and that vision, the discovery efforts, our delivery plans, right? These are really the nuts and bolts of product work. Your goals, of course, those are your measurable milestones that you use to track against that vision. And then your discovery is where you really seek to deeply understand your customer, your users. You experiment with some features and some other solutions, and then you validate those assumptions. And then finally, your delivery work. So what are the key elements that really make a product vision impactful? Well, first, I think each and every product vision should be customer focused and customer centric. You need to deeply understand the target customer and what their needs are, what their pain points are, what are the desired outcomes that you're working with, right? The vision should paint a clear picture of how the product will impact and hopefully improve the customer's life in a meaningful way. It should also be a long-term thing, right? Um, I'm at Amazon. We write 3-year vision, in some cases, a 5-year vision, white paper documents. Now, your product vision doesn't need to be as extensive as that. You can have just a vision statement. But the essence of what you're trying to achieve should be long term, right? You should be freed from the constraint of today. And, it really allows you to think aspirationally. And you want to be thinking at least 3 to 5 years out is what I would recommend. Um, Again, the lens here, is that you want to avoid becoming quickly outdated, and it ensures that the team is building towards a durable solution, really. So you want to be long term when you're framing that product vision. Next is compelling. Make it compelling. Again, back to our symphony orchestra analogy. You're going to have team members come and go. Your product vision is something that you'll likely be surfacing on your first conversation when a new developer is coming onto the team, or a new PM, or a new stakeholder. It's what you whip out essentially to sort of influence again, right? To influence this new individual and get them on board with that shared vision. So make it compelling. It could be a motivator, and again provides clear long-term direction. Your vision should also be forward looking. I've mentioned that a couple of times. Forward looking and inspirational. It should describe an ambitious yet achievable future state that has the power really to excite the teams working on it and target customers. And then finally, your product vision, it must be aligned with the company's overarching strategy and values. It should complement and reinforce either the company or the organization you're in, um, their mission, right? Their goals and their unique competitive advantages. So think, right, federal law and state law to folks that are in the U.S., right? Your state law must be sort of in compliance with federal law. So that's what I mean by your vision statement should be aligned with your company or your organization's overall strategy and values. So let's take a look at some well-crafted vision statements to some of our favorite products. First, we've got Slack to bring the right people, information, and tools together to get work done. So to me, this is a masterclass in clarity and ambition. I may be biased here. I'm a huge customer of Slack, but it speaks directly to their core purpose and how they seek to revolutionize how teams communicate. Next, we've got Instagram. This is pretty straightforward to capture and share the world's moment. So this is deceptively simple. That, this statement belies the platform's tremendous impact on visual culture and social connectivity. Instagram has transformed how we communicate, how we build community and experience the world around us. And this vision statement really demonstrates that. Finally, you've got Uber, who has a vision statement of evolving the way the world moves. They have another vision statement, igniting opportunity by setting the world in motion. And both of these statements really captures their dual aims of empowering both drivers and riders through transformative mobility and their platform that sort of surfaces that. So these are 3 vision statements to get you thinking about how your vision statement could have staying power, right? How they informed some of the product sets that these well-known companies have developed. So I wanted to share a couple of practical pointers as you begin to think about product visioning and the development of a product vision. First, this is not a task that should be undertaken in isolation. Effective collaboration with key stakeholders is essential to crafting a vision that is truly going to garner the necessary support, right? One of the key reasons for collaboration that's so important is the need to secure buy-in from stakeholders. This could be your leadership executives. It could be, those subject matter experts that you inevitably need to work with, and even customers, right? Involving those stakeholders early on in the envisioning process ensures the product's purpose, your target customer segment, and the success criteria are all aligned with the needs and priorities. Beyond just securing support, every stakeholder's involvement also provides invaluable foresight, right? Think back to you as a PM, as a composer. These individuals around you, they've got deep expertise and usually can offer great insight into potential challenges and risks and opportunities that'll come further downstream. So incorporating this knowledge up front could lead to a more comprehensive product vision. So you want to think about this process as thoughtful and inclusive, one of collective ownership and commitment among the participants. So I'd recommend facilitating dedicated workshops to among stakeholders to really conduct visioning. So I'd recommend facilitating a workshop to do this. So call back to the startup I was advising that was developing a concept of their product without a vision in place at the time. The team had preliminary ideas of what they wanted to address, had brought on the CTO and community members and advisors like me just to really, talk about their approach. They knew the problems they wanted to solve, but sort of informally brought us together to ideate on what their approach should be. And they called a roundtable, not knowing that we were embarking on a vision workshop. At the end of day one, after just sort of ruminating on the problems before us, we had laid out a goal for the next 2 days uh, to craft a shared vision that we knew would be helpful to really drive as our North Star as we addressed known problems or opportunities. So, the founders began by sharing insights gleaned from early user research that they had conducted. One of the founders described the personas that had been developed. Community-minded members of the African diaspora seeking more connection and engagement with their cultural roots was sort of the base persona. And to bring this to life, she was able to offer a story of a colleague of hers who had immigrated to DC, wanted to connect more with other immigrants through food and events. So with those user needs established, us as workshop participants were able to dive into brainstorming, assessing the problem statements individually at first, jotting down qualities and feelings that we thought would be essential to whatever solution we were coming up with, which turned out to be an app. We used words like empowered and proud, welcomed and discovered, and clustered those ideas into themes that we thought would matter the most to our core customer. And we stayed laser focused in that 3-day period on the user experience and was careful not to jump into solutioning or even features, right? Before landing on our vision statement. So I would recommend plan a visioning workshop if you have identified stakeholders or even some early customers that you'd like to include in the process. Next, I wanted to talk about understanding your customers deeply. So I alluded to this in the first in the previous slide. One of the sneakiest yet most important questions product owners have to grapple with is, what is the definition of their target user? It seems like a simple task, but it's absolutely critical to get right. Your product vision document should clearly articulate who your target customer and users are, as well as the specific market segment that you're aiming to capture. This requires a deep understanding of needs, desires, pain points of your users. Defining that target user in a way isn't just like, as we know, an academic exercise. It directly highlights the key market opportunities that exist. So one effective technique to do this is storytelling, which again, I've hinted at the previous slide. Storytelling is a invaluable tool that helps to bring the user insights that you might already have or have gleaned to life and sell your customer value proposition even before the product development process begins. Crafting user narratives uh, are powerful to generate excitement and buy-in for that product vision. Refer to the vision early and often. So while a product vision should serve as your North Star to guide the team, it's important to not treat it as a static or fixed document. It is long term. However, the vision should be regularly revisited and refined to ensure that it remains relevant, right? And impactful. I'd recommend you review your vision at least annually, at the very least, or whenever there's significant changes that could happen to the company's objectives or your competitive landscape, your target market, right? If there's significant changes there, I'd recommend to review that vision. This periodic review allows your product team to step back, assess whether the vision still aligns with the evolving needs of customers and the broader business, right? Revisiting the vision uncovers the need to refine the target user personas, adjust the key features and capabilities, or shift your long-term aspirations. Ultimately, your vision is most effective when it's a living, breathing document that evolves in lockstep with the product itself. So I'd recommend regular check-ins, again, at the very least, on an annual basis. In summary, a compelling product vision is your foundation that guides long-term product development and really the success of any product. The vision serves as your North Star to steer your product strategy, your goals, and execution. Crafting a vision requires thoughtful collaboration with key stakeholders to ensure alignment and buy-in. It should be customer focused, forward looking, ambitious, while remaining grounded in the company's broader strategic objectives. Importantly, the vision is not static. It should be regularly reviewed and refined to keep pace of evolving customer needs and market dynamics. With a compelling customer-centric vision in place, product teams can unlock inspiration and conviction needed to turn bold ideas into transformative product realities. I'll be sure to link some visioning workshop tools and templates for your reference. Thanks for listening.